I thought I would share with you a couple of tools that I use quite regularly when I'm transplanting plants. If you are growing your own plants for your garden, now would be a good time to start thinking about doing that. I typically plant tomatoes, peppers, basils, those kinds of things on about March 23rd. And so you'd still have time to go to the store and get some supplies you need. I mix my own potting medium up out of 1 part peat moss, 1 part vermiculite, 2 parts of potting soil. Please, please, please do not buy the soil that has the little diaper beads in it because they retain water and cause a lot of root rot. I've never had any success with those. It's just, ugh, blah. I don't even want to talk about it. I hate that stuff. And it's getting more and more difficult to find just pure soil to use in your greenhouse. Something that I found is really, really handy to have when you're working in the house to clean up messes is a nice little brush, an old-fashioned brush, and dustbin. You'll always have a little spillage of dirt, but if it's dry and allow it to dry, it's quite simple to pick it up like this. Every good gardener needs a garden journal. As you can see, mine has pretty birds on it and it says free on it, but I'm not sure why it says that on there, just because it was nice. It also has a waterproof kind of cover on it, which is great. When I write in my journal, I use a pencil at all times, a pencil, because I had a science teacher that told me once that if you write in pencil and you drop your notebook in water, which there's a lot of water in a garden, then you will actually, the type won't smear. So I've been using pencils my entire life because I love them. In here I keep some notes, I draw some diagrams, I keep some invoices, packing slips, whatever I need. These were all seeds I grew. I started this notebook in about, let's see, 2010. Started out really neat, but in the interim it starts getting a little bit messy in here, and sometimes my tape doesn't hold. On this page here you will see that there is a plot. My garden plots are kind of mapped out. I have peppers growing there, I had cukes growing there along the fence, tomatoes, peas, all that kind of stuff in there. Here's south, north, so I know the orientation of this diagram. And then I kind of keep track of what I'm growing because you want to rotate your plants, of course. And we can talk a little bit more about that at some other time. But you can write whatever you want in here. This year I'm putting in all my little seed packet pictures and writing down, like I planted a whole tray of California Wonders, planted a whole flat of Dakota Tears. On March 10th I planted lime, green, lemon, basil, and also a purple variety, which that's actually come up. Shall we go peek? Here are my little basils coming up out of the ground. Aren't they beautiful? The funny thing is that you just can't see that purple one come up, but they are all there. Basil seeds are really tiny and abundant, and so I plant them heavily in here, and then we'll transplant them as soon as they get to be a little bit sturdier. Right now they need light. There's not a lot of light out today. If you can see the tilt, they grow towards my grow lights, which are actually just fluorescent bulbs, one cool and one hot bulb, unless my husband didn't do that right when he switched them out. But see, and then you have to turn them every day around so that they start growing in both directions. These are desperately in need of light because it has been kind of dreary lately. Some more little pepper plants there. Just beautiful. Aren't they just beautiful? All right. So now that you know that you have to fill in your garden notebook as you go along and save notes and instructions and things like that, another great, well, besides the pencil, another great tool to have are these sticks. It's kind of hard to see. They are actually skewers to barbecue with, and I use those a lot to kind of dink around in the soil. That's a really dry cell there. There's nothing growing in those, so I'll fluff those up a little bit. And then I'll put, if I'm going to mix up a flat of seeds, I will put in a tomato that is easily identifiable, or a basil probably, easily identifiable from a pepper plant. So I'll know which peppers are in here by their little label, which I'm going to take that out because I don't know for sure if that's a pretty purple there, but this is a black pearl there. I know that for sure. I'll dig up the soil a little bit, fluff it up a little bit with one of these. This new tool that I just found whilst I was shopping one day. Oh, let me see if I can get a clean one so you can see what it looks like. It's a clean one right there. See how wonderful that is? It's got like a nice forky thing to it. And it's actually I think it's actually for hors d'oeuvres, not hors d'oeuvres. Yeah, so you could pick up something while you were at a party. Here's an idea that I had for keeping my seed packets in. Look at that! It's a photo album. This one actually has room to write notes on. If you wanted to turn this into your permanent garden notebook, you could actually put those empty seed packets back in there and write notes and then replace them every year with full seed packets and little notes about how long it took to germinate, the number of seeds that actually germinated. There's lots and lots and lots of wonderful things that you can do with a photo notebook like this, and they're fairly cheap if you go to the dollar store. Don't tell anybody I said that. It doesn't close, but it sits up really nice, kind of like a big, huge library book. All right, so we have plant stakes, we have containers. Oh, here's something. Here's a little brush in case you need to go delicately and move some dirt. Here's something else. I have this little brush that I got with some hair dye that I use for cleaning off little spaces. Not that you have to be neat in the greenhouse, but you just never know when you're going to need another brush, right? Okay, let's see how one of these little hors d'oeuvre forks works for transplanting a plant. Here's a really teeny tiny little tomato plant. One of the things you want to do before you, and I will be transplanting these later, but I just watered them yesterday because they were looking pretty shaky. You notice how they're growing towards the light? I'm going to have to turn them around. But just for the sake of a demo today, I'm going to pull this little tomato out of here and mix it up with something, and then I'll be in trouble, right? Here's a couple of tomatoes. Look at how far they're leaning. So every day I come out here and take a peek and I turn them around so that they grow the other direction. There we go. I guess I have a little bit of a mess there. Now, because they were wet, let's wipe that up. All right, so let's see. This one's kind of dry. Let's move one of these into a pot like this. Tomatoes like to be transplanted for some reason, and I love transplanting tomato plants. So I just use this little fork and dig way down deep in there and pull the whole thing up. Look at that beautiful root structure in there. If you allow these plants to dry out, they'll come out of the pots much easier and you'll have way less mess. Okay, so tomatoes don't mind growing new roots, and so what we're going to do is we're going to bury him, and everywhere that stem is underneath the soil, you will actually grow some new roots. So I planted these early, way early. They're Amish paste because I'm going to put them in a hoop house. You don't want to plant your plants too early in the spring because then you spend a lot of time babysitting them, and you don't want to do that. So just plant them about the third week in March, tomatoes and peppers. You want to wait for cabbages and broccoli a couple weeks later, maybe even 3 weeks later, because they'll grow fast. You can put those in your garden earlier if you have the kind of garden that you actually don't tilt, that you can get out there and work a bed at a time or whatever you do to get them in the ground. Oops, what are we forgetting to do? That's right, Amish paste. I know it's going to be a tomato because I can tell that it looks like a tomato. See? So we're just going to write Amish paste on there, and we're going to put a little tag in there just like that. And then we're going to put it away, and we're going to pray that the snow goes away and the weather warms up so we can get into the hoop house. And that's why these plants were planted so early, is because I'm going to put them inside of a hoop house, and therefore I can get them out earlier, which is why they're this size already. If you grow them too big or plant them too early outside, you're just defeating the purpose of growing a tomato. They will not produce any better if they have tomatoes on them when you put them in the garden. Actually, they really recommend that you pull those off of there so that the tomato has a chance to grow the way it wants to first and establish itself before it puts any energy into fruit production. And if you put them in the hoop house, we still need nights to be kind of warm. Tomatoes don't like it to be cold at night. And so if you put them in the ground and the earth is cold or the nights are cold, they're not going to grow until it starts warming up anyway. So you'll just be babysitting, and you don't need to babysit. So get prepared, get some dirt, get some pots, get some little tiny wooden stakes. You can use pencils too to move your tomatoes around if you want. And get those seeds in the ground. When you first put them in the earth, they need to be warm. So I actually have light bulbs inside of a little greenhouse there. And as you can see, I got trays in there that are not germinated yet. Once they germinate, get them out in the light. That's everybody's biggest mistake, is they don't get them under the light. These plants over here get 24/7 light. It's a wonderful thing. So get out and grow something.